Good morning to everyone. Yes, still morning. So, and thank you for staying so awake and paying attention in detail we see from here. So before I start, I would like to give the opportunity to you to contribute a little bit. So as you know, we are going to see some cases of interference. And I would like to know who from you have sent a report about harmful interference or received. I did it. So I hope that another one there, over there as well. This is from ITU VR, so it doesn't count. Another one there, yes, very good. Oh, yes, of course. I think there are more, so maybe it was your colleague who sent it, but anyway, we are going to see how to submit it and how to react when you receive a report, yes? So let's move on. And before to start with that, we are going to touch a little bit on space sustainability in the context of ITU, Radio Communication Bureau, why we need space radio monitoring, an overview of the current situation, what you have been reporting or your colleagues to the ITU in terms of harmful interference that it was experienced, and how to do in the sense of how to submit these reports and the procedure to follow when you have a case of harmful interference. So let's move. First, probably, and you will hear more even, and the question is why? Well, at this stage, I think we all know that there are many systems that the global communications and modern infrastructure is relying a lot on space-based systems for GPS, positioning, navigation, time synchronization of our 5G or any telecommunication network, also for air exploration satellites, rural communications, broadcasting. So we could really say that we are in a space-dependent era, and we will be even more. Now, in the same line, we are seeing a lot of projects being developed and being launched. So we are in a kind of second race, space race. And therefore, well, we are seeing a lot of objects and a lot of satellites flying there. Now, obviously, in this context, dynamics has changed. There is much, a higher risk of harmful interference, obviously. Doesn't mean that it will happen, but we have to protect them, and eventually also physical collision. And that's why we are also following closely the case of sustainability here at the ITU. Why at the ITU? Sometimes people may ask, well, it was not us, ITU staff, who decided so, but our member states in the Plenipotentiary Conference of 2022 in Bucharest decided for one resolution 219, and recently in the Radio Assembly, the resolution 74, and instruct us to do a certain line of actions. This is in line that we know already that ITU has 61 years of experience in regulating spectrum and associated orbit resources. So it's not new. And also believing that there is an interrelation between the orbits, and the spectrum. Why? Because every satellite has, almost all of them, a radio communication component, at least for TT&C. And if we are not using well, if there are issues on the space environment, even for maneuvering to avoid physical collisions, certainly this is going to impact in the efficient use of the spectrum. So that's how we are linking a little bit all these things. So the last point, and this is also a strong point for ITU, is that we have you all, which means we have all the sectors from the industry to the regulators to administrations, from all the regions. So it's really a good place to discuss on that. So this is the first introduction. And now we are going to see what we have done last year very quickly. Maybe some of you were already participating in the Space Sustainability Forum. It was an informative forum. You can go and have a look in the website. You will see in this slide, there is a QR code, but there is links to these websites. And we have built a Space Sustainability Gateway where we started to populate with relevant information as it was instructed by the Resolution 74. So we invite you again to visit and to contribute if your administration have also a space strategy on this domain. Now, what's next? One of the things we are considering is to, based on the feedback from the Space Sustainability Forum, is to make available point of contacts for flight operations so that when there is a risk, they can come here to the website of ITU and have very quick communications between the operators, something which may not happen in other places. So we'll try to put a web portal just to facilitate this communication between the operators. No? Capacity building is also something we are going to leverage. You will see soon some circular letter inviting you to a series of webinars probably. Handbook as requested by Resolution 74, and eventually a recommendation as well on the best practices for sustainable use of frequencies and associated NGS orbits used by space radiocommunication systems. And obviously, second part of the Space Connectivity Forum is coming probably in October 2025. Now, radio monitoring at ITU. Why, again? Well, we spoke a lot about interference. More than 90% of the cases are resolved by preventative measures, meaning the applicability of this procedure, so to avoid harmful interference, but sometimes interference happens, like anyone can suffer, no? So in those cases, we really need to act, and if it is not resolved, also to come to ITU. And we could really say that if we cannot measure something, we really cannot manage. So we can think that, okay, the spectrum is fine, but only when we really see that there is not interference, or we really can geolocate it, is when we can resolve it. And that's why we are having IMS, International Monitoring System, with a series of memorandum of understanding, the cooperation agreement with administration which have these monitoring facilities. Again, I invite you to look at this website. We have built this website. You can access through the QR code, and you will see all the technical and administrative information in case you need it. The current situation, on the left side, most of the points you know, just to say that we have 6.2 terahertz of the spectrum coordinated and recorded. This is the fruit of these 60 years of space regulation, thanks to our member states' vision. And as we got the question early this morning, the level of interference, let's say, if you look at the ratio between what is far, it is stable, but the interference is increasing. But because of the amount of satellite networks we are recording is also increasing, therefore the ratio is somehow stable. It's less than 0.1 deviation, let's say. But the interference is increasing. The cases we are receiving are on the right side, and basically are fixed satellite service in KU and KA band mainly, exploration satellite service, passive band in 1400, 1427 megahertz, mobile satellite service, radio astronomy, and the most important one we are observing already from recent years, as Alexander mentioned this morning, is the RNSS in 1164, 1215, and 1559, 1610 megahertz that we will see later. And that's really an issue of concern. So if we don't receive these reports, we wouldn't be in this situation to assess the actual situation. So when we observe this, going now to the RNSS, in the last 4 years, we noticed that the amount of reports were really increasing. And it was affecting different services, and from RNSS itself, as I said before, also time synchronization, civil aviation, humanitarian flights, maritime. So we really took action, we stepped up, and we sent the report to the WRC. The WRC adopted the resolution 676, which basically provide two steps for the administration. The first one is urging all the administrations to take necessary measures to avoid proliferation of circulation and operation of unauthorized devices. You will see this picture typically there. Unfortunately, sometimes you can even find on the internet, and this may have only a few cases of legal use when it's to protect a minister, the government. So that's legitimate, but most of the other cases are totally illegal in many countries. So you as a regulator has a role on this, and it's very important if when you come back to your administration, you also transmit this message that this is totally forbidden. No, it's really risky. The second case is urging administrations to encourage different sectors, or spectrum regulators, enforcement authorities, civil, maritime authorities, military and civil, to take care that when there are some operations near zone of conflicts, this should try to avoid any harmful interference impacting adversely at other systems. No? So this is basically a summary of this. It's a very sensitive case today, but we are trying to advocate, obviously, in line with the Constitution, that there shouldn't be any harmful interference. The third point is for us, so urging all of you to report these cases to the VR. And here you have, again, the QR code to facilitate for you the access to the CIRS website. And I invite you really to go there, and for us to provide assistance when you are requesting so. So these are the 4 points from the WRC 23 outcome in the sense of protecting RNSS as a safety service. In addition to that, in fact, or even previously, from the VR, we issue a circular letter to all the administration, you might have seen it, where we were addressing already this issue. No? So the idea was to raise awareness of the increasing number of incidents around the world. As you can see in the map, this is a source from IATA. The orange points are where there was detected interference. This was based on the ADSB. So it's not only in near area of conflict because of the other jammers I was showing as personal protecting systems, but because of that we say, okay, we need to do something and inform the member states, and we provided also recommendations on preventing and mitigating these cases. One of the main ones today, I would say, is trying to reinforce the systems to be more resilient to the interference. Of course, to increase the collaboration and retaining the essential terrestrial navigation for the case of aviation. So this is to be on the safe side. Now, let's go to the process on how to report a case of harmful interference for any service. No? So normally, we have, for example, in the image, two telecommunications service providers, A and B, from two countries, A and B, which are using two satellite operators, A and B. So in the day-to-day, there is no interference, and it's all fine, let's say. But when some interference happens, like we see here, non-deliberate interference, where one air station is trying to point to satellite B, but it's adjacent satellite, for example, and it's interfering satellite A. So both operators communicate each other and resolve this, as I said, in majority of cases. And this is not necessary to report to the VR, no? Because it's, for example, human error, wrong transmission, polarization. But when this communication is not possible between the satellite operator, is when they have to communicate with the administration. And then one level higher, the administration communicate each other and resolve the issue. When this is not happening, is when we go to a higher level and it's coming to the VR. And for that, we have basically two provisions, 1541 of the article of the radio regulation, which is for information, 15.2, which is requesting assistance. As the general procedure, let's say the first one you should submit for information, so we are aware about that. And when it cannot be resolved, you request assistance from us, and then only then we are going to take action. And this is embedded in the CIRS system as well. So in this case, we contact both administrations, we study the case, we request sometimes more information, and we try to geolocate and eliminate the interference. When it's needed, we also can call for monitoring facilities to help in the geolocation. In some cases, which are more critical, it can be even elevated to the RRB. As it was recently, you may see the summary of decision of the RRB. And on top of that, there are 3 instances, including the WRC, for example, the recent resolution I mentioned. So this is in one screenshot, how is the procedure to make it simple. Remember the submission for information and then requesting assistance under 13.2, so we can act. And how it is done, it's through CIRS. So the recent WRC 23 in the resolution 55 says that CIRS is to be used for that. So please, I will see it later in another presentation, but if you have an open account, open and use it, because otherwise you will be outside the system, no? So if you want to come back to faxes and pigeonholes, we can, but I don't think it's the day of today. So let's stay online. And the way it works is like many other systems in ITU, we have an architecture where the satellite operators was just one letter validating this and submit to VR and to the other administration. So this process is recorded in the ITU. It can be exchanged, reply with more information, and so on. So at the end, we are building a dossier or a file with all these cases, and for each action, you are receiving an email notification instantly. So that's very, very practical. You will see another video if you wish there on the website, and also a recommendation we did, which you would say is the international standard for reporting. So again, this is probably the most important slide. Open an account and use it because it's kind of mandatory, I would say. And it's very easy. You just submit the first communication to ITU. In this case, if you want, you can use fax as well, via mail, email, saying the name of the person you assign as administration manager, the TICE user name, and the email, and that's all. No? And if possible, the title. And then we assign the role of administration manager, and from now on, that person takes over, and I can assign use the fax, let's say, no? And that's all. So a few screenshots, I think we still have time. Yes, I am, no? I'm compensating more or less. So 1 minute, okay, very strict. So I share with you a few screenshots of the system. So the first, when you create a new report, it's really 10 minute submission when you get familiar with. Basically, the characteristics of the station which is causing interference, the interference scenario, Earth to space, space to Earth. We included also space to space for intersatellite links, as it is shown in the diagrams. And well, all the typical scenarios, which are also described in the recommendation 2149, the effective frequency assignment, and then you have to upload the letter, that's mandatory, and if you have, and hopefully, the geolocation and spectrum plot, no? Otherwise, we need to use the monitoring system for that. And this last slide will describe you the window that will pop up when you press on the green button for each one of these scenarios. At the end of that, you will have a window saying, what do you want, what are you requesting? For information, for VR assistance, do you want to make it public or not? And then you submit it. And when you receive, if you're on the other side, you just need to upload your letter with the reply, as you can see on the bottom right side of the screen. No? So it's just uploading the letter and continuously like this. So in summary, I think the main takeaways I would like that you have from here is that we need to know the importance of making a responsible use of space for both for spectrum and orbits. Monitoring, reporting, and comparing interference resolution is also key. The need of protecting the radio navigation satellite service and reinforcing its resilience, and how to use SIRS. No? So I've seen a few reports based on you now, but I'm sure, and I hope that for the next WRS, when I ask the same question, there will be more people raising their hands saying I have submitted my first report or replied. So thanks for listening, and well, all the best.
Thank you, Jorge, for this excellent presentation. I have just a question on the numbers. This morning we have seen in the first presentation that 99.94% of spectrum was free from harmful interference. And you have shown a different number, which is 99.86% of spectrum free from harmful interference. The first number was related to the year 2023. So my question is this number related to the year 2024, which would be consistent with your presentation that the interference is increasing from one year to another? And I have a second question, which is related to the Articles 56 of the ITU Constitution and 41 of the ITU Convention, which are the settlement of disputes and the compulsory arbitration. Have you seen any cases which reached this stage so far? to have a settlement of disputes between administrations or compulsory arbitration? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the excellent question. And Thomas, I would say you won the lunch because that numbers were put in purpose for someone to detect it, and you did it. So excellent. So the 99.84 and 99.96, I think it was this year. So the reason is because we have a KPI in the operational plan and the strategic plan that reports to the Council and the Member States, which says average over 4 years. That's the difference. One is strictly 2023, which is the 99.84, and the one that presented Alexander, in fact, was averaged according to the API on the last 4 years, because the previous year was higher, was better, so it's like this. But indeed, it was decreasing, so the interference was increasing. So it's a very good point. You detected it. The second question was about the optional protocol. No, fortunately, we never saw that case. It is in the Constitution and the Convention. Also to mention that the optional protocol, because it's optional, is also applicable to those who sign it. So it cannot be applied to administration that didn't sign. But fortunately, there was no need to reach that level, and I hope there is no need to reach that. Thank you.